came here for a good time, not a long time.
I got a call one night. A woman said to me, obviously not of the same persuasion as I was politically, called me and said, there's a dead dog on my lawn. And I said, yes, ma'am. I said, have you called the county? He said, yes, they're not here. And I said, well, I'll get him in the morning. She said, I want it removed now. I pay your salary. So I went over. I picked it up. She said, I want it out of my front yard. I put it on her doorstep. But I've got much better since then.
Oh, I mean...
So...
He did kind of deliver the goods.
I mean, in terms of the humorousness on the surface level of the storytelling.
Humorousness?
Humorous, is that a word? Am I making stuff up now?
I think you're adding a lot of...
Anyway, what neither Joe nor his cackling sycophants in the crowds of that little speech there, what neither one of them are realizing is that his cute little story there that they all just find so amusing is so deeply telling about him as an individual and what he thinks of his job as a politician, right? So he mockingly derides her for the whole like, hey, I pay your salary thing.
Come on, man.
Allegedly, in a democracy, or at least, or a constitutional republic would be better, the government is supposed to be subordinate to the people that it governs. That's the whole American experiment of government, right? Joe thinks that that's fundamentally ridiculous.
I just harken back to like if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. It's like,
don't cancel David.
Holy shit.
Social justice warriors. That was a Joe quote.
I was quoting him verbatim.
That was the other Joe.
And he still got elected. You remember when... Well, is it Dean? Somebody Dean
Cain for doing a weird yell? Yeah.
And that killed his whole fucking campaign. This motherfucker came out and literally said, hey, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. Like, holy shit. And then, you know, you have Trump, and not to be outdone, Trump just an election cycle before said, grab him by the pussy. And they're like, that's my president. By God, if only Dean would have been like,
he was ahead of his time.
It's all about timing. It's all about timing. I guess that's what we're learning today here on the podcast.
But, you know, not only does Joe's story kind of betray the kind of upside down view that he has of politicians and the people that they govern, is his funny little thing at the end where he just goes up and throws it on her porch, which is basically the small town community politician version of giving you the finger, right? Again, she wasn't incorrect. She pays his salary. He gives her the metaphorical finger by throwing it on the porch, and that's just hilarious. Is that not how every politician treats the will of the American people? We're told all the time that Congress has like a 3% approval rating, and yet like a 97% incumbent re-election rating.
But what does every dad say?
There's something incongruous about those numbers.
What does every dad say? What does every dad say? He goes, I wanted you to do it, but in the way that I thought that you would do it. But you did it in a way that I didn't want you to do it, but it worked out the same way. So I don't know what to be angry about, but I know that I'm angry. That's how I feel about our government right now. Like, you're not working the way that I thought that you were supposed to work. Maybe you're working, God has mysterious ways. Maybe the government has mysterious ways. Or maybe they're pretty
Trump
derivative.
Would say they're playing 4D chess.
Yeah,
they actually are helping us, but after 3 steps of screwing us, we'll get there eventually.
We're screwing you now so that you're released later. It's the long play.
This is foreplay.
Yeah, exactly. You got to give a little now to get a lot later.
So just keep that in mind. And I'm reminded back to this. You know, shortly after Biden was elected, a substantial contingency of the BLM movement was like, hey, Joe, we really rallied the troops to get you elected. Now we want you to start acting on some of the policies that we want to see instituted. And they've been left out in the cold. They still haven't got a representative to sit down with Joe. And there's a big hullabaloo about this group that formerly supported him is now feeling left out in the cold. When you hear Joe tell the story that we just played for you, Is that not exactly how he treated you? Is the same way he treated that woman all the way that time long ago when he was sitting on a city council? You are just fodder to him to get elected and or reelected. Once he's in that chair, he's over you, citizen. He doesn't report to you. You report to him. That's the way that he has been acting in positions of governance from city council all the way up to president of the United States. So everybody's got to learn their lesson the hard way, but hopefully this is the last time you have to learn that.
How many times do we have to get this lesson taught to us?
Apparently more than 1,000.
I'm no math magician.
I don't know what number
4 years
it's
since
high, though.
G-dubs, George Washington, obviously. So it's like, do your own math. We're not going to do it for you.
So with that being said, are we ready to get into the actual important thing of the day?
Let's drop in.
All right. Welcome to Weapons and Meme Destruction Podcast, episode 82, which we found
didn't even discuss it. You're just so,
I'm getting it figured out at this point, unless my co-host injects into the middle of the flow and throws me off.
I would hate to do that.
Which can be found at wmdpodcast.com/82. You can also find us on any podcast app. You can find it. I don't know. Can we put this one on? We're talking a lot of cancelable stuff in here. Can this one go on YouTube? Probably not.
You know what?
We're going to play it safe and not put this one on YouTube.
Hold on. May I conject?
Yes. Interject.
Conject with. I'm going to interject with conjection. How about that?
Go for it, buddy.
I got so mixed up on my word soup right there that I kind of lost my train of thought, but I'm back now. Don't worry about that. It's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. So I say we just slide it in YouTube, be like,
Okay. You know what? David just made an executive decision right there. This one will be on YouTube.
I am the CEO.
We'll see.
Of this.
We're going to run a little test run. Is this one going to get us canceled? Or at least kicked off of YouTube? So yes, but also link up with us on the other socials, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you find us. Go follow us on all the other ones because we're probably just one thing away from being canceled from any one of them. So with that being said, now, dear listeners,
I thought you were going to kick it over to me. Usually when you say that, you kick it over to the co-host, but you want to keep going.
Do you want to read the list?
Please, no, you clearly wanted it more than I did. So
look here.
To the victor go the spoils, please.
David, did you have something to say?
I don't. What would I have to say as a co-host? Just
I don't know. For now,
it looks pretty on all this video equipment that we have shooting us right now.
For now, whatever you wanted to say, it's trapped away in your mind. So please tell the listeners.
No,
what's going on.
No.
What kind of ideas are banging around?
There's a lot of expletives with the name Dane sprinkled in between them.
So, all right. Well, listen, I'm gonna try to market the podcast. Can I?
Please
do that
mark it away.
Okay. So
fresh market.
We would love to be able to talk to you on a more.
Is that trademarked?
Regular basis than our once a week episodes here, because man, is the simulation imploding at an accelerating rate. So here's just a list of some things that happened within the past week that we could have talked about, but since we can only do one topic per episode and keep it to a reasonable time.
Because we're only the 131st.
No, I think we're moving up. We're getting more engagement from the Australians.
Well, there's some play in there. There's some play in there. I'm sure they don't listen every week because they're busy being
tyrannized.
Yeah, that's the word. I was searching for it. They're busy moving from their house into the government mandated place that they have to live now.
So here is 6. So first off the bat, Project Veritas, another bombshell report. FDA executive officer says, yeah, Biden's goal is pretty much to inject as many people as possible. Canada.
Isn't it all of our goals?
See,
I'm just going to chime in one thing. I'm just going to throw in one thing, and then we can move on. Christ. Let me play a little bit, Dane.
Okay. All right. Second thing on the list, and we'll see what David's little nugget of wisdom is with this one.
Oh, don't hold my feet to the fire.
So the catastrophe in Canada is continuing to expand as the government is suspending bank accounts of people that donated to the convoy, forcing tow truck companies in Ottawa to move trucks, even if the tow truck company refuses. And threatening arrest for people who don't move from certain places at certain times, whatever. That whole catastrophe is getting worse and worse. Can't talk about it this week. David, any pithy quips on that one?
Seems like they're doing a bang-up job up there. That's all I got to say. You know what? If somebody won't do something that you really want to have them do, you just force it upon them, you know?
Everybody knows
There's
all good
definitely
ideas
not
require force.
Hashtag something to movement that was all about that. Just force yourself on somebody.
David, if you're not forcing it,
I don't
how
want
good
you
could
to
it
do that.
possibly be?
Well, I want to do it, so now I'm going to do it. Deal with it. I will with a lengthy lawsuit that's going to happen about 40 years later. Go ahead.
That was more than pithy.
You're one to talk.
I know. All right. The New York Times basically says why they didn't want to cover the Hillary spying on Trump campaign story, because it would take, quote, a, quote, significant amount of mental energy, and that it's too complex of a story. And anybody that is pointing to it and saying, see, the New York Times not talking about it is proof of a mainstream cover-up, that those are just Trump-loving conspiracy theorists and probably white supremacists. That's why they're not talking about Hillary spying on a campaign of a political opponent. And
we would have covered Hunter's laptop, but we were so fucking high that we couldn't quite get it down. So like, we'll catch you on the next one.
The New York Times doesn't think we have a significant amount of
You're
mental
too
energy.
dumb to understand what happened, okay? So why would we?
So we're just not going to fucking talk about it.
You stupid bastards. Like, we'll tell you what happened if you really want to know.
We now have such...
We're not going to waste our time with you.
We now have such disdain for your intelligence that we're not even going to bother propagandizing you. You're so stupid that if we just don't talk about it...
Yeah, go out and buy some stock. Oh, you fucking idiot, it just crashed. What are you doing? Why don't they trust us? Why do they trust Joe Rogan instead of us?
Moving on to the next one, a Washington Post article that says that a belief in freedom is a hallmark of white supremacy.
Now that is interesting because of the dichotomy, because, you know,
these concepts
of slavery, white people, made a country.
I mean, you can go all throughout Latin America. They all celebrate, you know, their revolutionary independence, their freedom from an empirical master.
Those white supremacists, they might as well be wearing Ku Klux Klan robes. Where's the Grand Master of Brazil?
You would think a lot of former slaves and then their descendants afterwards are pretty happy about gaining freedom. That was always the cry for freedom. All around the world, the cries throughout all of human history have echoed freedom versus power and control. That fight has existed for all of time, and it always will. But now it's a uniquely white supremacist thing, and that's why anybody that talks
everyone to
freedom,
live free. How dare you?
You want everybody to be on a level playing?
We tell you why it's wrong, but we're too busy, you know, being smart over here to explain it to you dumbasses, you know, from the previous story.
Topic number 5 this week that we can't talk about because we don't have enough time. I'm going to totally butcher this name. It's French. Jean-Luc Brunel, a French model agent. Oh, sorry.
You got to kind of like mull over your consonants.
A French model agent that was supplying young girls to Jeffrey Epstein for a very long time, has, you'll never guess it, been found dead, hanged in his jail cell, and all the cameras happen to be
probably
off.
autoerotic asphyxiation. He's probably just getting one more rock off before he launched off. If you know what I mean?
Is there an echo in here? Have we heard about somebody dying in exactly the same way?
Wait, hold on.
In recent memory?
Did somebody? Were there like 30,000 orange jumpsuits around him too after he killed himself. I mean, excuse me,
Did he
killed
go
himself.
rogue on laundry day?
Like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not folding all this shit. I'd rather kill myself. That's why he killed himself. We have it out on recording. That's what happened.
So, weirdness continues to abound in the Epstein matter. And last but not least, before we actually get into what we're here to actually talk about today, is, Russia, Ukraine. We all might be nuclear fallout tomorrow, but
we're going to catch a hell of a tan before we go.
We got other things to talk about on this once a week podcast.
Holy shit.
All right. So those are the 6 things that we're not talking about. Hope you got your
summer body ready for that sick ass tan you're about to get.
It's going to be the last one you'll ever want or need.
Yeah. Oh, boy, howdy. So with all that plethora of green pasture that we could have frolicked through, gathered garlands of fresh herbs from, what did we pick this week?
If I could sum it up in a sentence or two, we picked Exhibit A of the pharmaceutical-industrial complex at work.
Oh my God. After all that rockets into space shit, you're going to just the earth is round me? Okay, cool. What up? What?
Or water is wet.
Yeah, the sky being blue, All
right, so, but it's the reason why we picked this one, because again, all of those other ones are perfectly valid topics. The reason we picked this one is I don't know, unless you are paying attention to a lot of different areas of what's going on. This one may have fallen completely off the radar, but it's a rather important one. And it's the Moderna CEO, Stéphane Bancel, from January 29th to February 11th of this year, sold about 60,000 shares of stock for between $8 and $10 million, the CEO of Moderna. Now, Moderna went from $17 through the height of the pandemic, in August of 21, up to $500 a share. And then as of the last few weeks when Bancel was selling, it's all the way down at $161. Now, the question is, what happened to send Moderna skyrocketing? And what happened from its peak in August of 21 until Bancel decided, like rats on a ship, he's headed for the exits? What changed between August 21st and January to February of 2022? What changed? There's a couple things, and that's what we're here to talk to you about today. But you can see that unless, where I saw this was on a finance channel. And so unless you have different irons in the fire, this one might have flown completely under the radar, because we're talking about fraud, waste, corruption, and abuse in the stock market, which manifests in other areas of the society, and especially politics.
One might argue,
but
predicates it. But
yeah.
You know what this story is? To give you credit, Dane, this is that classic love story. Is he was there the whole time, I just didn't see it. It's he's just the guy that did all the right things, that picked me up at the right time, that said all the right words, that, I just didn't see him. And the right answer was right in front of me all along. That's what this story is.
You're not at all surprised that this stuff is going on, but maybe knowing about the story itself,
all those other stories were the classic jock QB,
right.
He's already signed to college, but then he's well, I want to break up because when we go to college, I'm going to be getting all that sweet trim, being a college quarterback. We're not carrying this into the future. This story is the dude that was there the entire time.
All right. Well, I'm officially lost. That may not be your fault. So
I thought that would resonate perfectly with you.
I mean,
you win some, you lose some.
It was a beautiful story. When I listen back to this, which I totally do for quality control purposes, not because I'm a narcissist.
I can't. I'm I was such an idiot. I'm not going to listen to that shit again.
Listen, as the old saying goes, if you can't, I'm totally butchering whatever the saying is. If you don't enjoy your own whatever, why would anybody else?
Yeah.
So, you gotta
that applies to everything.
Listen back and
that applies to
figure
everything
out whether you suck. Where are the weak links on the podcast?
That applies to everything but a fart. You understand that, right?
No, please enlighten me.
You enjoy your own, but nobody else will. So
You're right.
Maybe that's not an ironclad.
Maybe nobody
idea.
else will, but this comes before that.
Maybe somebody else enjoys.
If not even you enjoy
their
it.
own. Yeah, if I can't even swallow it, if I can't even,
then the likelihood that anybody else is going to is also much lower.
Certified fresh.
All right, with that fantastic detour that was totally on topic and not distracting at all.
Get some brevity before we go into the muck.
So when Moderna skyrockets from 17 right before it starts to go on its COVID run all the way up to 500, think about from an investor's standpoint why it would be useful to buy into that and buy stock in that company. Well, because Moderna has basically just gotten this isn't a word, but like a triopoly with Pfizer and J&J, right? In terms of our three products are the only thing on the market. Not only are they the only thing on the market, but government is going to come in and mandate them. And not only are they going to mandate them, but the government is going to give us liability from any adverse health consequences that come out in the future. If I'm an investor looking at that stock, I'm like, what? They're going to have astronomical revenue. They have no liability on the backside, so I'm not going to get bad news on that front. I'm going to pump it up. And then she goes from a $17 to nearly $500 stock price.
It's like they knew it all along. It's like they're writing their own rules. Yeah. Almost.
And always keep that in mind when you look at those charts that shows about the politicians that outrun the market, Nancy Pelosi and the whole crew, right? That the market generates returns of say like 20% a year or whatever, and they're like 60 consistently.
And lest we forget, the apes. We can't forget the apes.
Well, that they're going to tie into this.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But that's the whole point of the investment is that like, oh, cool, you think you can go out and print your own money by dictating where the market goes because you have complete control of the market. I don't like that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to invest in the exact same thing that you told me not to invest in because I know that it goes against your grain.
Well, and here's the other thing is about that whole apes thing. When it started, all the mainstream media was saying, how dare these people? They should be prosecuted.
They haven't stopped.
They were talking on message boards, coordinating buys, which is illegal. But that's what they were accusing individual citizens of doing to run up a stock, right?
You mean what our politicians do every day?
They were accusing us of having completely open public message boards on Reddit while these bastards are behind the scenes knowing, hey, we're about ready to roll out mandates, and hey, this is one of the three companies, and hey, this and hey, that, and da-da-da-da-da. Like, even if everything they said about the apes was true about collusion and stuff like that, at least we had the balls to do it out openly. You do it in smoke-filled rooms, and you're supposed to be the pillars of society while we're just scum of the earth retail investors.
Let's not forget, you've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
Since maybe the inception of this bullshit. So why are we the villains for inventing a new way to do what you're doing that you haven't made illegal yet? I'm sure they're working on plenty of Build Back Better addendums to throw in to make sure that this can't ever happen again. But they aren't done pissing on us yet. Because just this last Super Bowl, E-Trade had a goddamn commercial shitting on people are investing in stocks because of memes. Like, all right, get the baby on board. So your idea is that a baby can give you better financial advice than a meme? Is that what I'm supposed to believe?
I think it was a throwback. Remember the original E-Trade
No, I remember
in the early 2000s,
but again,
baby.
Again, weren't they kind of pissing on your foot and telling you it was raining back then? Like, I can do E-Trades from my crib and
right. How easy it is.
How easy it is, right? Like, oh look, just do what we tell you to do and you'll make money. So that's the soliloquy. That's the idea. That's the topic. And now you guys have gone too far following memes. Now we got to bring the baby back in to just listen to daddy and invest where daddy tells you to invest.
Right. And I mean, that's only the first half of the story. So the run up to 500 is only the first half in terms of the corruption and everything that goes on behind this. But then we asked, because again, we started with the Moderna CEO, Stefan Bancel, selling $8 to $10 million of stock in the period of a couple of weeks earlier this year. And the question is, well, Bancel's running the company. Why didn't he sell all the way up at 500? Why did he wait till recently after it had fallen off a cliff down to 160 to sell?
Whoa.
Well, there's two things going on there. First one is recent investigations into Pfizer and Moderna have come out, like the investigations are starting based on the menstrual disorders that are occurring in some of the vaccinated and the 48,000 plus adverse events that have been reported. That's one thing which could scare him out. Because again, the question is, from the peak in August of 21, what changed between now and then? One thing is that investigations. But what I posit to you is the other thing, and the most important thing is it's a midterm election year, folks. COVID has been political from day one. And one side, the blue side, has owned the lockdowns, the mask mandates, all of the things that people are now starting to revolt against.
I will push back on that. That was the previous administration that administered the lockdowns. And that's what they're saying right now. The White House has come out as of this week, maybe not as of this week, but they keep saying that the lockdowns were from the previous administration. They won't even claim their own fuck-ups.
Oh, of course. Yeah, they're going to try to,
Just throwing that out there. Don't want it to be lost on anybody.
And so it's like that thing we were talking about in the pre-roll with the Vietnam War. It's like they're going to wait till most of the bad guys, they're going to wait till they're dead. Or,
you're referring to the pre-roll.
Yeah, the pre-roll. And the point we were making out is like either they're dead or they think that it's so far in the past that the American public with their goldfish memories are going to
remember that one time?
It's going to run a news cycle for 24 hours and everybody's going to forget about it.
That they said that you were too stupid to understand what Clinton did, so we aren't even going to cover it.
Oh yeah, that one time this week.
Yeah. Remember that one time? Like, I can't remember what you said last week because I'm just a dumb American. Just give me McDonald's and give me my stock portfolio.
So, and just so that you know that we know that yes,
that we know.
Yes, under the previous administration, under the Trump administration, there were lockdowns and there were other policies that a lot of people that are now on the right would disagree with. But in terms of those policies ramping up, in terms of when Trump was in office, being yelled at by his opponent running against him, Biden, for not doing enough.
Oh, man.
So it's always been that side, more or less, asking to do more on the state and local level in terms of vaccine mandates and passports and all that kind of stuff. And so now, in a midterm election year, they have to run away from that. And so if you're shareholders in Moderna, you're saying, wait a minute, the cash cow is now dead, right? They're not going to be forcing any more mandates on each other, at least unless you believe the Project Veritas story. So our cash cow is now dead, and some investigations are starting to happen. And even though we have exemption from liability, that's a little bit riskier for the future. So it takes a nosedive, and Bancel says, you know what? I see the writing on the wall. I'm going to liquidate like
it's
none
shocking,
other.
Dane. For all the science, for all this thing will go away if you get your third goddamn shot. For all what's causing these mutations is the people that don't get the shot. For all this, that, and the other, everything they say has been proven wrong with time, which if they followed, quote unquote, the science, time proves science. Like we've discussed multiple times on this podcast. You can't do science.
Theory stands
you can't do science in 5 minutes.
Right.
You have to hold up with a theory over time and under extreme scrutiny. What scrutiny have we had? They're trying to cancel a podcaster because he got okay after he caught fucking COVID and took things that they told him wouldn't work, and then all of a sudden he's okay 3 days later.
Not us, guys. We're too small for them to care.
Right.
Don't worry.
To harken
we'll
back
still be
to
with you.
We're not Trumpies. We don't support Trump. We're libertarians. We don't have a dog in the fight. That's not what we were saying.
Right, but facts are facts.
Exactly.
Right.
So tracking all the way back, and then they even went so far as to say that the Nobel Peace Prize winning drug that he took as a cocktail of things to make him better in 3 days and was back to working out hardcore in 5. They were all wrong.
Well, listen, I'll tell you this. Joe Rogan's a pussy compared to me.
Yeah, let me tell you.
I didn't take any of that stuff, and I was good in like 4 days. It was rough for a couple of those days, but I was back to life in 4 days.
Well,
so what's up, Joe?
Maybe you should
take a cocktail, Joe.
Maybe you should have done a TikTok and had some fucking filters put on your face to make you look sicker than you were.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have got us somewhere.
Again, I'm sure CNN would have done that to me,
so
but
selfish,
they don't care
Dane.
about
It's all about you. You just want to look so pretty on your TikToks. You want to, I'm emerging from my room from the 4th day of my COVID. What is it called?
I didn't record any TikToks.
Oh.
I went on hiatus.
Yeah, because you want to look pretty for all the girls. I get it. Of course. I get it.
Of course. So yeah, all the way from 17 to 500 and 500 back down, there is cronyism and corruption all over this story from start to finish.
Do you feel it?
I feel what?
Do you feel that wave coming?
Oh, yeah.
Where they're going to have to say, like, all those people that didn't get vaccinated that were the cause of all the bad things that are happening in the world, like inflation is because you weren't vaccinated. Don't you understand?
You know, actually, I'm surprised I haven't seen a headline that says that yet. It's just a matter of time.
Maybe I'm a soothsayer. Maybe it's coming out next week. But what I'm saying is...
On the weapons of meme destruction, it's tomorrow's news today.
Right. We see the future right now. Tune in, drop out, and log on. All I'm saying is they will find some scapegoat for this when the real feet that should be held to the fire are all the people that said that misinformation was anything that flowed away from the party line. And when the party line comes out, and we've seen it through the annals of history, remove yourself from COVID. Remove it completely. World War II, Vietnam, the Korean War, and every war since. There's been misinformation and there's been a party line that has been followed. And then it comes out later that, oh, well, maybe we did leave some people behind in Vietnam. Oh, well, maybe Saddam Hussein didn't have weapons of mass destruction. Okay, well, maybe he didn't have any hand in the plan for 9/11. Maybe we just kind of made this whole fucking thing up anyway. But now we're not going to cover Clinton because you're too fucking stupid because we told you that and you believed it.
David, that's not the topic this week. Quit going back to that one.
All I'm saying is, like, you're insulting my intelligence.
Yes, they are.
Stop it. I can remember more than 5 fucking minutes, and you told me 99% I won't catch it, and fucking 100% I won't spread it. And no one that believes the rhetoric is saying that that was ever said now.
I know.
So why should they respect us? That's what I'm saying. Like, the onus is on you, the listener.
Oh, yeah. Why should the power brokers respect us?
Why should they respect us? Right, exactly. You just keep swallowing whatever they force down your throat. They're never going to respect you.
That's a good point.
Stand up for yourself.
You have some every once in a while.
I fumble into them every now and again. And I fumbled into that one. I will tell you that right now. But what I will say is
profound.
Like, be worth saving. I'm sick and tired of watching movies of like one guy standing up for humanity and blowing up the asteroid that was going to kill everybody. Like, fuck us. What do we do that's worth saving? Seriously, what do we do with this worth saving?
David, this took a dark turn.
It's taken a dark turn.
David might not love you, dear
I
listener,
almost made a TikTok this week. I almost made a TikTok, but we haven't reached 5 yet. We're at 4.
He's how many in the hole as of
4.
emails this week?
4. This one, when we get to 5, I almost made a TikTok saying, like, be worth saving. Hold a door for an old lady. Like, help somebody with their grocery. Like, do things. Do things that are worthwhile. Become human again. Not just what can I get for how long can I get it. That's not savable. Don't be the person in the movie that, like, you hope drowns when the Titanic gets hit. Be the person that should have scooched over for Jack. Because there's plenty of room on that goddamn door. She could have scooted over. They both could have made it out. That's what this whole podcast is about.
David, that's
one scene.
That's a very profound point. And my point that I want to leave the listeners with is we reiterate this a lot. And this story is just another example of it. And it's the concept that the government, the state, has a monopoly on violence. And this is what we mean by this. If you or I did any single one of the actions that Stefan Bancel or his collaborators in government that knew that all this was going on and profited from it and all that kind of stuff, if you or I did any of that, we'd be thrown in cages, as we should be. But these people won't, and they never do pay consequences because they enjoy the monopoly on violence. They can write the rules, exempt themselves from the rules, and even if they accidentally break them, even though they were exempted from them, they're still not going to suffer any sort of consequences because they enjoy the monopoly on violence. And to bring that in with what David was just saying about make yourself savable, people that are savable are high quality individuals that work on bettering themselves every day. They have skills, they have talents, all of that kind of stuff. Those kind of people don't need the criminals that rule us to rule them. Those kind of people can build a free society where Nancy Pelosi isn't commanding 70% of their daily decisions. If you put that kind of effort into being that type of person, and more people look at the criminals in DC and like, what are we paying any of you for? All you do is make our lives worse or more difficult. You literally don't fix even the things you promised to fix.
You know what? You're always ranting about taxation is theft, right?
Yeah.
And then we always pay our taxes and never get a receipt.
Your receipt's about 30 trillion in the hole right now.
All I'm saying is
you're not going to like what they bought.
Maybe our tax rate should be based not off of our income, but how well the government performed that year. They get an A, B, C, D, F. And when the government performs well, we pay higher taxes. And when they don't perform well, we don't pay taxes at all. So maybe we could hold their fucking feet to the fire for once in this goddamn. I don't want a 10% flat rate. Fuck that shit. I want to see what you're doing. Show me all of your papers. Show me your papers. Show me your papers. Show me your vaccination papers.
In case you were wondering, David's not a real libertarian. He just posited a theoretical world where taxation would be acceptable.
Yeah, it'd be acceptable if they made a utopia. I'd pay 30% for a utopia. This is not a goddamn utopia, all right? Listen,
David is not a real libertarian.
I pay for my phone. I pay for my phone that was built by slaves. I get it. I'm aware of it. But it's really convenient. So I'm willing to accept the fact that people suffered for it.
Oh my God.
So that I won't.
There's the cancelable quote of the day. David, we almost made it out of this episode.
I was just speaking as an American.
Jesus.
That's all I'm saying.
Listen, ex ante, David apologizes, yada, yada.
I will never apologize.
It was a poorly.
I'll double down.
It was a
you
joke.
Triple down nowadays. It's trademarked.
And everybody's expressed opinions on this podcast are their own. Only.
You'll just give them the
David the Heisman on that. So, David, did you have any more words of wisdom for the listeners?
Cancelable offenses? Not tonight.
That's good. That's what I like to hear. So you can find this episode at wdpodcast.com/82. You can also find us on any podcast catcher, as well as YouTube, Odyssey, and link up with us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. But most importantly, hit up the email list and I see that some of you have been doing that. The email list has been growing recently, and that's good for you. That's good for us. That's good for our connectivity in this infinitely cancelable world, which David is always so happy to contribute and toss our hat in the ring to. David, would you like another go at tossing us in there some more?
You think they're going to cancel us because of a couple of dick jokes from David when you're saying we need to burn down the establishment? You want to have that conversation
I'm
right now?
not saying that
We're trying to sum it
explicitly.
up. We're trying to put a nice little bow on it. You want to have that conversation? We'll have it in front of the people. We'll have it right now.
No, I think we should have that conversation in bonus content, which you can
perhaps we
get
should.
at the $10
And by the way, you
want to
mention that we're poor? You want to mention that we're poor and that they should spread the word?
Yes,
so
that they
we
should
can't be
definitely
poor
spread
anymore?
the word and or give us money. Okay,
No,
thanks, bye.
If you don't have money, tell people about us. If you do have money and you like what we say, help support the podcast.
And tell people about us.
If you want to see our faces, support the podcast. I said that to you, Clinton. If you want to know who to mark, send us a $10,000.
I have an idea for the show for that, but we'll talk about that off mic.
Yeah, we got to do that off mic.
Okay, let's do that.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll see you all back next week for episode 83.
Stay safe, stay free.